Sitaram, and a pleasant good evening to each and everyone. Welcome to our Connecting Through Bhajans this evening. At this point, I would like to invite Auntie Chansey to do our opening prayer, followed by our first bhajan. Thank you, Sitaram.
Namaste, Sitaram, everyone. This evening is a very sad evening, and you know it's happening so regularly now, but it's still very hurtful and very painful. Only 2 weeks ago, we offered prayers on behalf of Devanti's brother, and this evening, you know, we got this sad news of Vashwati's sister, who was a member of the Mandir. I remember very clearly. I know Krishna will remember as well, when I was a little girl. You know, so I have fond memories of her in the Mandir. We also have another member of the Mandir, Mati, whose husband had a stroke, unfortunately. So this evening, as we have come together, let us really dedicate our thoughts and our prayers to all those who are suffering with loss, especially, or sickness, especially the two members I just spoke about. And we ask God to give them that strength, that wisdom to be able to deal with this emotional trauma. So let's clasp our hands as we recite. Om Asato Ma Satkamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirkamaya Mrityorma Mritam Kamaya. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So I will do a Ganesha chant. Lambodhara Jai Gauri Sutta, Lambodhara Jai Gauri Sutta, Ganadhita Jaya Gajanana, Ganadhita Jaya Gajanana, Lambodhara Jai Gauri Sutta, Bhalachandradhara Gajakarnishwara, Bhalachandradhara Gajakarnishwara, Saishwara Mam Pahi Prabhu, Saishwara Mam Pahi Prabhu, Lambodhara Jai Gauri Sutta, Ganadhita Jaya Gajanana, Lambodhara Jai Gauri Sutta, Bhalachandradhara Gajakarnishwara, Bhalachandradhara Gajakarnishwara, Saishwara Mam Pahi Prabhu, Saishwara Mam Pahi Prabhu,
Thank you, Auntie Chansey. So now I'd like to ask Sanya if she can sing one for us, followed by Anne Joy, Abigail, and Mrs. Ramdat. Thank you.
मानस बजरे गुरु चरणम दुस्तर भव सागर तरणम मानस बजरे गुरु चरणम दुस्तर भव सागर तरणम गुरु महाराज गुरु जय जय गुरु महाराज गुरु जय जय सत्य साई नाथ सद्गुरु जय जय सत्य साई नाथ सद्गुरु जय जय ओम नमः शिवाय ओम नमः शिवाय ओम नमः शिवाय शिवाय नमः ओम अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुण शिवो ओंकारं भव ओंकारं भव ओंकारं भव ओम नमो बाबा मानस बजरे गुरु चरणम दूसर भव सागर तरणम मानस बजरे गुरु चरणम दूसर भव सागर तरणम गुरु महाराज गुरु जय जय गुरु महाराज गुरु जय जय सत्य साई नाथ सद्गुरु जय जय सत्य साई नाथ सद्गुरु जय जय ओम नमः शिवाय ओम नमः शिवाय ओम नमः शिवाय ओम शिवाय नमः ओम अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुण शिवो ओंकारं भव ओंकारं भव ओंकारं भव ओम नमो बाबा मानस बजरे गुरु चरणम दूसर भव सागर तरणम मानस बजरे गुरु चरणम दूसर भव सागर तरणम दूसर भव सागर तरणम दूसर भव सागर तरणम सीताराम
Sitaram. रघुपति राघव राजा राम पतित पावन सीताराम रघुपति राघव राजा राम पतित पावन सीताराम सीताराम जय सीताराम भज मन प्यारे सीताराम सीताराम जय सीताराम भज मन प्यारे सीताराम रघुपति राघव राजा राम पतित पावन सीताराम ऊंचा नीचा एक समान सबको सम्मति दे भगवान ऊंचा नीचा एक समान सबको सम्मति दे भगवान रघुपति राघव राजा राम, पतित पावन सीताराम। जय रघुनंदन जय घनश्याम, अवध बिहारी सीताराम। जय रघुनंदन जय घनश्याम, अवध बिहारी सीताराम। रघुपति राघव राजा राम, पतित पावन सीताराम। राम राम राजा राम, पतित पावन सीताराम। राम राम राजा राम, पतित पावन सीताराम। रघुपति राघव राजा राम, पतित पावन सीताराम। पतित पावन सीताराम। पतित पावन सीताराम। सीताराम।
सीताराम। सीताराम कहो राधे श्याम कहो, सीताराम कहो राधे श्याम कहो, सीताराम कहो राधे श्याम कहो, सीताराम कहो राधे श्याम कहो। सीताराम बिना कोई अपना नहीं, सीताराम बिना कोई अपना नहीं, राधे श्याम बिना सुख सपना नहीं, राधे श्याम बिना सुख सपना नहीं। सीताराम कहो राधे श्याम कहो, सीताराम कहो राधे श्याम कहो, सीताराम कहो राधे श्याम कहो, सीताराम कहो राधे श्याम कहो। सीताराम बिना सुख कौन हरे, सीताराम बिना सुख कौन करे, राधे श्याम बिना दुख कौन हरे, राधे श्याम बिना दुख कौन हरे। सीताराम कहो राधे श्याम कहो, सीताराम कहो राधे श्याम कहो, सीताराम कहो राधे श्याम कहो, सीताराम कहो राधे श्याम कहो। सीताराम बिना फिर पार नहीं, सीताराम बिना फिर पार नहीं, राधे श्याम बिना उधार नहीं, राधे श्याम बिना उधार नहीं। लक्ष्मण नारायण नारायण नारायण, लक्ष्मण नारायण नारायण नारायण, लक्ष्मण नारायण नारायण नारायण, लक्ष्मण नारायण नारायण नारायण, लक्ष्मी नारायण नारायण नारायण, लक्ष्मी नारायण नारायण नारायण। हरि ओम नारायण नारायण नारायण, हरि ओम नारायण नारायण नारायण। सीताराम कहो राधे श्याम कहो, 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 सीताराम कहो राधे श्याम कहो। सीताराम।
Thank you all very much. So now I'd like to ask Mrs. Ramdat if she can do one, followed by my mom and Auntie Chancy. Thank you.
Hi, Sitaram. कभी राम बन के कभी श्याम बन के चली आना प्रभु जी चली आना। कभी राम बन के कभी श्याम बन के चली आना प्रभु जी चली आना। तुम गणपति रूप में आना, तुम गणपति रूप में आना। रिद्धि साथ लेके सिद्धि हाथ लेके, सिद्धि रिद्धि साथ लेके सिद्धि साथ लेके चली आना प्रभु जी चली आना। कभी राम बन के कभी श्याम बन के चली आना प्रभु जी चली आना। तुम शिव रूप में आना, तुम शिव रूप में आना। गौरा साथ लेके डमरू हाथ लेके चली आना प्रभु जी चली आना। कभी राम बन के कभी श्याम बन के चली आना प्रभु जी चली आना। तुम राम रूप में आना, तुम राम रूप में आना। सीता साथ लेके धनुष हाथ लेके चली आना प्रभु जी चली आना। कभी राम बन के कभी श्याम बन के चली आना प्रभु जी चली आना। तुम कृष्ण रूप में आना, तुम कृष्ण रूप में आना। राधा साथ लेके बंसी हाथ लेके चली आना प्रभु जी चली आना। कभी राम बन के कभी श्याम बन के चली आना प्रभु जी चली आना। तुम विष्णु रूप में आना, तुम विष्णु रूप में आना। लक्ष्मी साथ लेके चक्र हाथ लेके चली आना प्रभु जी चली आना। कभी राम बन के कभी श्याम बन के चली आना प्रभु जी चली आना। चली आना प्रभु जी चली आना, चली आना प्रभु जी चली आना। जय सीताराम एवरीवन।
Sitaram, everyone. आओ बैठो जपो हरि नाम, शिव जी की मंदिर में आओ बैठो जपो हरि नाम। शिव जी की मंदिर में, शिव जी की मंदिर, शिव जी की मंदिर, शिव जी की मंदिर में आओ बैठो जपो हरि नाम। शिव जी की मंदिर में सोना के और मूर्ति बनी है, सोना के और मूर्ति बनी है, लक्ष्मण और हनुमान। शिव जी की मंदिर में लक्ष्मण और हनुमान। शिव जी की मंदिर में आओ बैठो जपो हरि नाम। शिव जी की मंदिर में आओ बैठो जपो हरि नाम। शिव जी की मंदिर में तुलसीदास भजो भगवाना, तुलसीदास भजो भगवाना, सीता और श्री राम। शिव जी की मंदिर में सीता और श्री राम। शिव जी की मंदिर में, शिव जी की मंदिर, शिव जी की मंदिर, शिव जी की मंदिर में आओ बैठो जपो हरि नाम। शिव जी की मंदिर में आओ बैठो जपो हरि नाम। शिव जी की मंदिर में। थैंक यू।
Namaste again. This chant speaks to the oneness of God. No matter what name you call him, it's still that one God. Mahadeva Maheshwara Sai Narayana Mahadeva Maheshwara Sai Narayana Natanagara Dukha Bhanjana Sai Narayana Natanagara Dukha Bhanjana Sai Narayana Karunakara Akhileshwara Sai Narayana Karunakara Akhileshwara Sai Narayana Allah tum Mahavir Yeshu Sai Narayana Allah tum Mahavir Yeshu Sai Narayana Hridayeshwara Partishwara Sai Narayana Hridayeshwara Partishwara Sai Narayana Mahadeva Maheshwara Sai Narayana Natanagara Dukha Bhanjana Sai Narayana Karunakara Akhileshwara Sai Narayana हृदयेश्वरा परटीश्वरा साई नारायणा हृदयेश्वरा परटीश्वरा साई नारायणा महादेवा महेश्वरा साई नारायणा 1,000 pranams, Swami. Namaste.
Thank you all very much. So now I'd like to pass over to Sanya for our Bacho Kakan segment this evening.
Welcome everyone and welcome to Bachu Kakan. Tonight our opening prayer will be done by Suneya.
Please close your eyes, clasp your hands and bow your heads. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Sujakuti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakareshi Sarvada. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you, Suneya. Tonight our presenters are myself and Suneya. I will be reading a story which is entitled Arjuna's Concentration, and Suneya and I both will be singing the bhajan Sai Mata, Jai Jagadambe. My story is entitled Arjuna's Concentration. One day, the Pandavas were having a class in archery with Guru Dronacharya. Dronacharya stuck a wooden bird to the tree and asked each Pandava brother to shoot the eye of the bird. But before they shot the arrow, Dronacharya asked each of them about what they saw. Each Pandava said that they could see the tree, the sky, and the leaves. Dronacharya asked them to shoot the arrow. It was eventually Arjuna's turn. When Dronacharya asked him what he saw, Arjuna replied that he could see nothing but the eye of the bird, which he had to shoot. Dronacharya was impressed by his reply and asked Arjuna to shoot the arrow, which went straight through the eye of the wooden bird. The moral of this story is concentration and complete focus are the key to success. Now, Suneya and I will be singing our bhajan. Sai Mata Jaya Jagadambe Jaya Jagadambe Ma O Sai Ma
Sai Mata Jaya Jagadambe Jagadambe Ma O Sai Ma.
Sai Mata Jaya Jagadambe Jaya Jagadambe Ma O Sai Ma
Sai Mata Jaya Jagadambe Jaya Jagadambe Ma O Sai Ma.
Guru Devi Namo Namah
Guru Devi Namo Namah.
Lakshmi Devi Namo Namah
Lakshmi Devi Namo Namah.
Sai Mata Jaya Jagadambe Jaya Jagadambe Ma O Sai Ma
Sai Mata Jaya Jagadambe जय जगदम्बे माँ ओ साई माँ।
ब्रह्मणि माँ शिव शंकरी माँ,
ब्रह्मणि माँ शिव शंकरी माँ,
वेद महेश्वरी वैष्णवी माँ,
वैर महेश्वरी वैष्णवी माँ,
गुरुदेवी नमो नमः,
गुरुदेवी नमो नमः,
लक्ष्मी देवी नमो नमः,
लक्ष्मी देवी नमो नमः,
साई माता जय जगदम्बे, जय जगदम्बे माँ ओ साई माँ।
साई माता जय जगदम्बे, जय जगदम्बे माँ ओ साई माँ।
साई माता जय जगदम्बे, जय जगदम्बे माँ ओ साई माँ।
साई माता जय जगदम्बे, जय जगदम्बे माँ ओ साई माँ।
Thank you and Sitaram.
Thank you, girls, very much. That was a beautiful presentation. They only learned that song on Sunday. So very well done indeed. I am sure your teacher will be very proud.
सीताराम, तू ही एक तू अनंत, तेरा आदि नहीं अंत। तू ही एक तू अनंत, तेरा आदि नहीं अंत। गाते सारो और संत, गाते सारो और संत, सीताराम सीताराम, सीताराम सीताराम। ओम श्री राम जय राम, ओम श्री राम जय राम। बोलो राधे श्याम, राधे श्याम, बोलो राधे श्याम, राधे श्याम। जय जय राम, 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 जय जय राम। तू ही सागर समान, तेरा नाम ही महान। तू ही सागर समान, तेरा नाम ही महान। जिसमें लिया तेरा नाम, जिसमें लिया तेरा नाम, उसके पाले सारे काम। ओम श्री राम जय राम, ओम श्री राम जय राम। बोलो राधे श्याम, राधे श्याम, बोलो राधे श्याम, राधे श्याम। जय जय राम, 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 जय जय राम। जय जय राम, 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 जय जय राम। तू ही शंकर, तू ही श्याम, तू ही विष्णु, तू ही राम। तू ही शंकर, तू ही श्याम, तू ही विष्णु, तू ही राम। कितना प्यारा तेरा नाम, कितना प्यारा तेरा नाम, चलेगा तो सुबह शाम। ओम श्री राम जय राम, ओम श्री राम जय राम। बोलो राधे श्याम राधे श्याम, बोलो राधे श्याम राधे श्याम। जय जय राम जय जय राम, 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 जय जय राम जय जय राम। जय सीताराम।
Thank you, Abigail. So now I'd like to pass over to Auntie Chancy for our catechism this evening. Thank you.
Namaste again, everyone. Last week I digressed from the trend of thought that we had for the last couple of weeks, and we looked at the Guru. So I will now return to the 7 sins that Mahatma Gandhi outlined. As I will just revisit the first couple, and then we go to the one for tonight. First one was wealth without work. Second was pleasure without conscience. The next was knowledge without character. The other one was commerce without morality. And tonight's sin, science without humanity. So I had one more thing to say about commerce without morality. And it was, for the most part, we always think of commerce as big business, trading in business. But it can also mean our commercial interactions in our daily life. So that is something for us to think about. That we must always be dharmic. We must think about morality, follow morality in all our undertakings, no matter what they may be. So tonight I will look at science without humanity. Science without humanity, what does this really mean? To answer this question, we must go to another question. What exactly is the purpose of science? For the most part, science developed and even evolved to make the life of human beings better. This can be traced back to a French philosopher, René Descartes, in his statement that he made in the 17th century, cogito ergo sum, which is Latin for I think, therefore I am. He was also the father of the scientific method, father of modern philosophy. So that statement, cogito ergo sum, best defines and explains man's quest for enlightenment. This is also established and espoused in the Hindu tradition, the concept of Sat Chit Ananda. Wanting to know, learning, this is part of the human imperative. No one wants to be ignorant, at least consciously so. Our tradition is a learning and a teaching tradition. I keep emphasizing this point. And our authoritative source, the Vedas, especially the Upanishads, this is how lessons are taught, through teacher-student dialogue. All or the vast majority of scientific inventions were done to make the life of humanity better. The invention of the wheel, the Industrial Revolution in the middle of the 18th century, the combustible engine, you know, just day-to-day things, washing machines, all of these things, stoves, they were all done to improve the lives of human beings. There is no such thing as scientific discoveries in and of themselves. We may understand the natural laws of the universe. That is a given. Whether we can appreciate it, whether we can understand it or not, the law of gravity is there. The natural laws of the universe are there. Us understanding and harnessing them for our purposes is what you could call science. Science and scientific growth only has value because of its integral intertwining with the history of human beings and the development of civilization. So if you have scientific inventions that are destructive or counterproductive to the development of human beings, this seems paradoxical and incomprehensible. When Gandhi spoke these words, he was referring to the increasing automation and mechanization in India during the early 20th century that he warned was making man redundant. Presently, with increased automation, we are seeing the effects all around us. Many persons are made redundant who now cannot find employment, placing their families under stress. When this situation is magnified or looked at in a macro sense, this means greater profits in the hands of a few and increased poverty and pauperization of many persons, leading to greater crime rates, depression, dysfunction. When science becomes unhinged from human welfare, it becomes like a proverbial runaway horse. When it loses its raison d'etre, the effects are disastrous. We only have to look at what is happening in the Ukraine. The amount of resources being placed into this gargantuan war machine. When you think of nuclear weapons, chemical warfare, chemicals that are polluting and destructive to the earth, chemicals that destroy the life of bees, which obviously will ultimately impact on us, because without bees, there's no pollination, and then we have no food. Chemicals that pollute groundwater, the soil, etc. Gandhi's words were profoundly prophetic and prescient. As Hindus, what is our stance? God's immanence in all of creation means that we should not be actively performing any actions that are unnecessarily hurtful. When science becomes detached from human welfare and the welfare of the environment and other living things, the effects will be felt by the living earth and by every one of us, directly or indirectly. And if not in this life, in the life of future generations. It may seem remote and unconcerning to us, you know, a topic like this. But whether the effects are increased cancer rates from polluting chemicals, increased food prices due to war, ozone depletion, and the heating of the planet due to fossil fuel use, the impact is global. So when Gandhi spoke these words, he was not trying to say that science in and of itself was destructive. He understood the importance of technology. But if you are going to design technology that will ultimately make human beings redundant, and I'm talking about not just that you can find another job, it's making life better for people. Just, for example, someone pumping gas. Me having to come out of my vehicle and pump gas does not make my life any better. But it increases the profit margin of the persons selling the gas. And the ones who are pumping the gas obviously are now, perhaps they may not have the skills to find another job. But the bottom line is that they do not have a job. And this is what he was speaking about. It is in the context of India and the manufacturing industry, especially textiles, that we all know that India is so famous for producing wonderful fabric. And in India at that time, the colonial power, the England, was purchasing all the raw material, producing fabrics, and exporting back to India, causing tremendous pauperization. So while this may seem remote for us, the effects of science gone wrong, when you make that conscious choice as a gardener to use a chemical that you know is toxic, this is what, when you perform puja and you decide that you are going to burn all the plastics afterwards and all of these things, these are things that we must think about. So there may be scientific developments in different ways, but if it is something, we must be discerning when we look at what it is and then decide whether there is any value in using something like that. Now we are lucky, we have the power of choice. We have so many things that are available, products that are available to us. So I just wanted you to, because you see, the 7 sins outlined by Mahatma Gandhi cover all of life, meaning it deals with your personal choice, it deals with the choice of society, of our leadership as we go along, you will see, in our interactions, daily interactions. So, and of course, science is a very important part of all of this. So I hope that it makes some sense to you. Science without humanity. You must always remember, science is supposed to be for the benefit of humanity, to make our lives better, not to make us sick, pollute all around us to make us sick, to make us ingest things that we know that are not good for our body. So with this, I would like to encourage you, please, in whatever you are doing, always be discerning. Be discerning. Before you use anything or any type of technology and so on, think carefully. With this, I say namaste. Thank you very much.
6 and 7.
Thank you, Auntie Chansey. So now I'd like to ask Mrs. Ramdat if she can do a bhajan or kirtan for us, followed by my mom. Thank you.
जय सीताराम। हे दुख भंजन मारुति नंदन, सुन लो मेरी पुकार, पवन सुत बिनती बारंबार, पवन सुत बिनती बारंबार। अष्ट सिद्धि नव निधि के दाता, दुखियों के तुम भाग्य विधाता। अष्ट सिद्धि नव निधि के दाता, दुखियों के तुम भाग्य विधाता। सिया राम के काज समारे, सिया राम के काज समारे, मेरा करो उद्धार, पवन सुत बिनती बारंबार, पवन सुत बिनती बारंबार। हे दुख भंजन मारुति नंदन, सुन लो मेरी पुकार, पवन सुत बिनती बारंबार, पवन सुत बिनती बारंबार। अपरंपार है शक्ति तुम्हारी, तुम पर लीजे अवध बिहारी। अपरंपार है शक्ति तुम्हारी, तुम पर लीजे अवध बिहारी। भक्ति भाव से ध्यावो तू है, भक्ति भाव से ध्यावो तू है, कर दुखों से पार, पवन सुत बिनती बारंबार, पवन सुत बिनती बारंबार। हे दुख भंजन मारुति नंदन, सुन लो मेरी पुकार, पवन सुत बिनती बारंबार, पवन सुत बिनती बारंबार। जपत निरंतर नाम तिहारा, अब नहीं छोड़ू तेरा द्वारा। जपत निरंतर नाम तिहारा, अब नहीं छोड़ू तेरा द्वारा। राम भक्त मोहे शरण में लीजे, राम भक्त मोहे शरण में लीजे। भव सागर से तार, पवन सुत बिनती बारंबार, पवन सुत बिनती बारंबार। हे दुख भंजन मारुति नंदन, सुन लो मेरी पुकार पवन सुत बिनती बारंबार पवन सुत बिनती बारंबार पवन सुत बिनती बारंबार। बोलिए पवन सुत हनुमान की जय।
Sitaram once again. भजु मन हरि हर ओम सुमिरो मन नारायणा भजु मन हरि हर ओम सुमिरो मन नारायणा भजु मन सूरज भजु मन चंदा भजु मन सूरज भजु मन चंदा भजु मन पवन सुमीरो मन नारायणा भजु मन पवन सुमीरो मन नारायणा भजु मन हरि हर ओम सुमीरो मन नारायणा भजु मन सीता भजु मन रामा भजु मन सीता भजु मन रामा हनु हनु हनुमत बीर सुमीरो मन नारायणा हनु हनु हनुमत बीर सुमीरो मन नारायणा नारायण हरि नारायण हरि नारायण हरि नारायण हरि भज मन हरि हर ओम सुमीरो मन नारायण भजु मन गौरी और गणेशा भजु मन गौरी और गणेशा भजु मन सती संग शिव सुमेरो मन नारायणा भजु मन सती संग शिव सुमेरो मन नारायणा नारायण हरि नारायण हरि नारायण हरि नारायण हरि भज मन हरि हर ओम सुमेरो मन नारायण भजु मन तुलसी भजु मन चंदन भजु मन तुलसी भजु मन चंदन भजु मन गवन कुपीर सुमीरो मन नारायण भजु मन गवन की पीर सुमीरो मन नारायण भजु मन हरि हर ओम सुमीरो मन नारायण भजु मन हरि हर ओम सुमेरो मन नारायण नारायण हरि नारायण हरि नारायण हरि नारायण हरि भज मन हरि हर ओम सुमेरो मन नारायण भज मन हरि हर ओम सुमेरो मन नारायण सुमेरो मन नारायण सुमेरो मन नारायण Thank you.
Thank you all. Auntie Chance, can you do our last bhajan or kirtan for us? And then I'll pass over to Abigail for our closing prayer this evening. Thank you.
Sure, Shabana. So this chant that I'm going to sing is dedicated to Lord Krishna, and I will remind you again The essence of our tradition is to think of others, to be selfless. This is what this exercise is all about. We come together and we pray for the welfare of others. Guruvayurpur Shri Hare Krishna Narayan Gopal. Guruvayurpur Shri Hare Krishna Narayan Gopal. Mukund Madhav Murli Dhari Narayan Gopal. Mukund Madhav Murli Dhari Narayan Gopal. Narayan Gopal, Shri Hari 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 Narayan Gopal. Govardhan Giridhari Murari Narayan Gopal. Govardhan Giridhari Murari Narayan Gopal. Mukund Madhav Murli Dhari Narayan Gopal. Mukund Madhav Murli Dhari Narayan Gopal. Guruvayurpur Shri Hare Krishna Narayan Gopal. Guruvayurpur Shri Hare Krishna Narayan Gopal. Mukund Madhav Murli Dhari Narayan Gopal. Narayan Gopal, Shri Hari Narayan Gopal. Narayan Gopal, Shri Hari Narayan Gopal. Govardhan Giridhari Murari Narayan Gopal. Govardhan Giridhari Murari Narayan Gopal. Mukund Madhav Murli Dhari Narayan Gopal. Mukund Madhav Murli Dhari Narayan Gopal. Guruvayurpur Shri Hare Krishna Narayan Gopal. Lord Krishna, just the same way he protected his devotees by lifting the Govardhan mountain, when sometimes things seem insurmountable, we need to supplicate. We need to place our troubles at the feet of the Lord, because it is only Him who can help us. Always remember, our beautiful Lord will never ever forsake us. Namaste.
Sitaram. Om Shantakaram Bhujagashyanam Padmanabham Suresham Vishwadaram Gaganistadhesham Meghavarnam Shubhangam Lakshmikantam Kamalayanan Yogi Virgyan Gamyam Vande Vishnu Bhavabhayaharam Sarvaloke Kanartam Om Purnamada Purnamiram Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti, Shanti, Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Hari Om. Sitaram.
Sitaram.